Welcome to another edition of Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson. We're thrilled you're with us here as we are on the eve of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Tomorrow night, the Gophers and Badgers at Williams Arena, an 8 o'clock tip-off, and there are some tickets still available at gophersports.com. Sunbelt Business Advisors sponsors our show. I'm Mike Grimm along with Justin Gard. JG, good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Good to be here. Excited for the Badger game. Excited. Yeah. It's Badger week. It's always fun.
No doubt. The border battle is upon us. And the head coach, Ben Johnson, joins us. And, Coach, as always, good to see you as well.
Good to see you guys. Good morning.
Well, yeah, how much better does it feel to join Justin Gard and Mike Grimm after a win on your coach's show on Tuesday?
Always better. Always better. I don't mind any of the questions now.
Well, that's good. That's a good news thing. Well, let's go back to that game Saturday afternoon. You guys were shorthanded with Peyton Willis out with COVID, and still some guys battling a bit of a bug that was not related to COVID. And you fought through it. You hit some shots, and the Gophers got a nice 17-point win, and really a boost for everybody, I think.
Yeah, it was a fun night. Or a fun day, I should say. Guys were supremely focused, and they played loose, they played free. We talked a lot about that just in the pregame shoot around about, we've kind of been here before with Rutgers, and that nobody needs to go out there thinking that they have to have a Jordan game. Everybody's just got to bring a little bit more. And that necessarily isn't scoring. It could be, one more rebound or one more defensive stop or, one more play where you're communicating, you're helping a teammate. And I thought they did that, and I thought the ball was moving. Guys were confident when they stepped up to take shots, and they made them. I thought our zone was really good. I didn't really think there was a little stretch where they kind of cut the lead, but I thought for the most part, it wasn't really kind of a doubt. I thought we were kind of just playing in the zone, and it was fun to see.
Now you're in 2022, so you get to compare games where you have guys out with COVID. You talked about with Rutgers, how that was kind of spur of the moment. You talked about didn't even bring them back on Friday night because you didn't have the answers. It sounds like, at least in Peyton's case, you had a little bit more lead up time, knowing that, Friday he tested positive. So how did you compare the two scenarios, I guess, from Rutgers trying to get the team ready to against Northwestern trying to get the team ready, kind of not knowing who was in or out?
Yeah, the second one was a little bit easier because, like I said, we could fall back on Rutgers. So guys, had confidence that, we've done this before when we've been out, players. And then this one, obviously we knew the day before that Peyton wasn't going to play. We didn't really know about Eric because Eric didn't do anything the day before because he had the, flu symptoms. And so, we didn't know. And so we kind of prepared as if maybe he wouldn't. And then he was a game time decision. But, I think our guys, they just found a way to rise to the level of expectations. And they found a way to rise to a level of what we needed to compete in order to win. And, we had it from the start. So total team effort from everybody that played, everybody that helped prep for the game. It's never, you never want to go in there when you're down personnel, but for some reason, our guys, the last two times have really found a unbelievable focus and a confidence. And I don't think it really matters to them, who we got. I think they feel like we're going to go out there and compete, especially at home. If this was on the road, maybe a different story, but especially at home, I think our fans did a great job of being engaged in the game and giving guys confidence and energy. And they were big time, and they were definitely part of a reason why we got the win.
You mentioned that you didn't need anybody to be Michael Jordan. There's some irony in that the last time you were shorthanded, Peyton Willis came pretty close to being Michael Jordan that day at 32 points, and now he's the guy you're missing. And I guess if there was a common link between those two wins, it's Luke Lowy. He had 19 against Rutgers when Willis had 32, and then he had 24, which is a Gopher career high for him Saturday against Northwestern. And then obviously Jamison Battle stepped in with a double-double to come along for the ride. But what a job Lowy did, and really all year, but in those two situations specifically.
No, he was big time. And, I think he also had 7 assists and maybe only 2 turnovers, and, was a primary ball handler with really, honestly, no backup ball handler for him. So you had to kind of share the brunt of that load. But, to make shots early always helps. And I think too, as a player, when you're down, there is like a weight that's kind of lifted. You play freer. And, he was able to go out there and just enjoy it and play free. Again, making shots early, making plays early always helps. But, we don't win either of those two games without Luke. There's no doubt. He's just a guy that brings that toughness, competitive spirit that I think our guys, they feel. And, he's so important to what we're doing. And it's also good to see him, the last month or so really playing good basketball. And, I think he should be confident from here on out to do what he does and to make shots and make plays.
Well, what's it been like as his coach to watch him, really all these guys, but Luke especially, it seems like, as a guy who's, okay, trying to fit in at this level. What is this level all about? What's the Big Ten all about? Then on Saturday, I was there. I mean, he's conducting the orchestra. He's telling the crowd to get up. He's going crazy. Like, it's like a total transformation of personality almost with Luke Lowy.
No, it is. And I think, I just think sometimes it takes an adjustment. Sometimes guys, especially with Luke's personality, I don't know if stepping on toes is the right phrase, but I think it just takes guys time to get comfortable, maybe in their new situation surrounding, to really be who they are. And I'm asking him to be, somebody maybe different than he was at his last place in terms of being a big communicator, being a little bit more aggressive, attacking and playing downhill, being emotional, showing your emotion, getting the crowd involved. Those are all things that I think he's now finally comfortable doing. And I think he realizes that, I think it does affect your game when you're in it like that emotionally. I just think your attention to detail, you're locked in. And so it's good to see that. It's good to see, him out there enjoying it, having fun, because I think it trickles down to the rest of our team.
Couple of weeks ago, we talked about Peyton Willis, and you mentioned it's a little bittersweet because, there's the time's winding down with him, and he's been such a good player that, we'd try to find a loophole to get him back another year. My hunch is that you're probably starting to feel that way about Luke Lowy as well, that if there was, it's a little bittersweet because he's finally getting into it here the last, as you mentioned, month or so. And unfortunately, the time's winding down for him as well. And I suppose this is the position that, the COVID situation put a lot of teams in, but man, he as you mentioned, he's really gotten in there, and you got to start looking for those loopholes, I think.
I wish. No, I mean, I don't know who we're going to bring in next year and what our full roster will look like, but, there's no question that we're going to miss all three of those guys. We'll miss everybody, but especially the guys that have played, the core of these minutes, with Sean, just what he does off the bench, how he's gotten better defensively. And he's a big reason why our zone's been so good. He's got a knack for it. He's figuring it out. He's athletic. He can get to the rim. He can really guard one-on-one. I mean, he's physical. And then you look at, EJ, Peyton, and Luke, we're going to lose a lot. And it's not always stuff that necessarily shows up on the box score. It's, the type of teammates they are, the unselfishness. They're here every day to work. They're here every day to get better. They don't question, what we're doing. They believe 100% that, we're getting better as a team, that they're getting better, that we're going to win. And then the good players, like, it's just little stuff like, on the court in a timeout, I can draw stuff off offensively and knowing that they're going to go out there and execute. They know how to play the game. So it's going to be a big loss. There's no doubt. And again, we're going to try and bring in good players, but I hope people realize that, like, these guys are pretty good, and it does. It kind of sucks to know that he's just had a little bit more time with them, what we'd be able to do.
Now with Jamison, the 14 rebounds, I mean, how important was that, especially given kind of Eric's status where he played, but clearly he's dealing with stuff and probably your best rebounder. So to have Jamo just for a while there, it seemed like he grabbed every rebound, 13 on the defensive side. How important was that?
Huge. It was huge. We've been on Jamison a lot about just, how complete of a player can you be? And, that's what, offense and defense. He's a big dude, and it's like, trying to lay some wood, man. So I think, he's a competitive kid. And again, he's like Luke, like, he knew he was going to have to do, again, a little bit more. And, that obviously was the rebounding piece, and he brought it. He was just engaged in the game. I mean, if he can do that, not that he needs to get 21 and 14 and 5 every night, but I mean, we take it. But if he can do that, not only what that does for our team, but just for him personally, and it's all there. It's doable. I mean, he's got a lot of tools, very talented, but I just think his mindset was really right. And like the rest of our guys, and he just attacked it, man. And it was great to see.
And I know you're a guy that as a coach, your style is to, hey, no matter what is thrown our way, you got to handle it and battle it. But I do want to ask you a little bit about what this team's been dealing with a health situation. Obviously, it was a rough road trip last week, and you don't want to make excuses. But to me, now looking back, knowing what we know now, there had to be some guys that were trying to play through a few things, certainly at Penn State now when you look back. How much of a factor, was that for that week in terms of how guys were feeling? And even like Battle, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like maybe he's even lost a little weight. He's just from, he's still, I think, trying to recover from his bout with it over a month ago. What is the health situation just generally, and how much were you guys fighting it here the last, week or maybe more?
Yeah, no, I think that last week was obviously tough. I think we have 4 games in 7 days, and you got the travel component to it. And I think it just towards the end of the week, towards that Penn State game, kind of reared its ugly head. And that, probably explains a little bit of why we looked like we did. And it's tough because our guys want to play, and they're not going to find any excuse to not play. But at the same time, you got to be smart with how you're feeling and your health, and we're never gonna compromise that. And so, hopefully, we're getting back. EJ, who had COVID, I think is still now getting there. Like, your body just doesn't always, recover like you want. It's not like just getting over the flu sometimes. And so, he's been kind of battling with just his energy and his strength. And Jamison, although, technically didn't have COVID. I mean, he was sick, about as sick as you could be. And, the whole deal, temperature and IVs, and had to go to the hospital and all that. And I think now he's just getting back a little bit, his energy, you can tell in practice, hadn't been there honestly for about a month. Just his personality was shot. And now he's finally got a pep to a step and getting back and feeling a little better. And now you got Eric, who, was draining and didn't test positive, but has, major flu issues. And so now it's just getting those guys back. And I think too, it's the mental piece. Whether you're Peyton coming out of COVID, whether you're, Eric, who's battling the flu. I mean, just the mental piece of when your body's not right, and trying to go out there and compete at the highest level against some of the best players in the country is its own challenge. And so I think we're hopefully past it. If maybe next week or so, and be able to really finish it right for the guys. Just so I want them to be able to go out, feeling good and feeling right, not battling anything extra.
How about Peyton? Can you give us an update? Is he feeling better? And can we expect, I don't know what the protocol is in terms of timeline, but if he's feeling good enough, can he play against Wisconsin?
Yeah, right now, talking to him, he's feeling pretty good. No, it's more of just an energy fatigue thing with him. He did have a little bit of a cold to go with it, but I think that he got hit more with just the energy fatigue. You got nothing in your tank. And so there's protocol stuff that every player has to do when they work in their way back in terms of, you got to get cleared and checked out by our medical staff. And so, we'll see. There's a chance he could go Wednesday, if he feels right and he's cleared. But we won't know that till Wednesday.
All right, very good. Let's take our first break. Let's hope to see number 0 on that floor tomorrow night when the Gophers and the Badgers hook up at 8 o'clock. We'll take air at 7:30. Tickets available at gophersports.com. We want to thank Sunbelt Business Advisors. They should be on your team roster if you're buying or selling a business. And there's never been a better time to sell than right now. You can get your Sunbelt no-cost confidential business valuation today. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com. That is sunbeltminnesota.com. They sponsor our show. Stick with us. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Welcome back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson. We have the head coach and Justin Guard with us. My name is Mike Grimm. Want to remind you real quickly, it's become one of Minnesota's most popular running events, and it's back to being live and in person. It's the 12th annual Goldie's Run. It's live for Sunday, April 3rd at Huntington Bank Stadium. Runners and their families have the option. You can choose a 10-mile, a 5K, or a half-mile Goldie's Gallop. It starts and ends at Huntington Bank Stadium. Registration and other info can be found at goldiesrun.com. Goldie's Run is brought to you by longtime partner Abbott. All proceeds benefit the M Health Fairview Masonic Children's Hospital. goldiesrun.com. The Gophers and Badgers tomorrow night. It's an 8:00 tip at Williams Arena. 7:30 is the pregame show. The Badgers, certainly, we have a few things to talk about with them. They had an interesting weekend where they knocked off the Michigan Wolverines at home. Some tempers flared at the end of that game. And I don't know, Coach, maybe you do or don't want to have any comment on that other than, I guess my question for you is, do you talk to your team and your coaching staff about that situation and just make sure everyone would get on the same page if maybe eventually, at some point, I'm not saying against the Badgers, but against anybody that you might, have a situation arise where tempers could get out of control?
Yeah, I mean, I think most coaches will use any example to show an example. Even got back to the Duke Clemson game a couple of weeks ago when there was that hard foul. I showed that clip to our guys before one of our night walkthroughs. And the point is just like, you can't do stuff like that, and it's bigger than you. And what we're trying to do is bigger than you. And then when you do stuff like that, you make it about yourself and you put a lot of things in jeopardy. And not only that, it's something that that kid or these staffs and these teams are going to have to live with. I mean, it's not going anywhere, and to have to relive that, I just think it's unfortunate for everybody. So no, we just talk a lot about just making sure you try to stay as level-headed as you can. And I know it's hard because everyone's a competitor and there's a lot at stake, and there's a lot of will to win, and there's animosity, and there's rivalries, and there's this, there's that, and there's conference play. But you got to play with a sense of composure. And so yeah, I don't think any staff ever wants to be in the situation that happened at Clemson or over the weekend. And you just try to prepare yourself and your team as much as possible. In case worst case scenario kind of happens.
When every Big Ten coach now has to be on the record on where they stand on the handshake line in general. Fran McCaffrey said, a lot of emotion, maybe not the best. He's had to pull players out of a line before. Tom Izzo said, we're shaking air. If they don't want to shake our hands, we're just going to go up and down the line and I'll be shaking air. So once the Ben Johnson,
which was great.
It was amazing. It was so funny. And then you could tell it matters to him because he was mad that it's even a thing that the handshake line can go away. I know how I feel about it. I'm a handshake line guy, but I'm not a coach anymore. I'm not a player anymore. So what's the Ben Johnson view on the handshake line?
I'm kind of indifferent. I mean, I don't, I think as coaches and players, there's a lot of time before the game. If you want to seek out a guy or talk to a guy, I know as head coaches, we always, we'll talk, if there's guys you're closer to, pregame and kind of get that out the way. I see both sides of it. I understand, if it's a tight contested game, sometimes neither coaches, even if you win, like sometimes you just want to get with your team, sometimes just like, great, I'll see you guys when we see you guys. Like, and I understand I'm sure Izzo was talking about the sportsmanship piece and, being able to congratulate a team, win or lose. And I get that. But I also think at the same time, like, I don't necessarily think guys do that and they come away thinking like, oh man, that made me a better person. I don't. So I'm indifferent. Like I see both sides of it. I just, it is tougher and tougher as you go because, it just takes one, and it could be the team manager. It could be a walk-on. It could start our trainer. It could be just one person that, mumbles something or says something, And again, at the heat of the moment, like if it were 5 minutes after a game and emotions have gone down, it's different. But like when you literally do it right after, it can be tough sometimes. So, I think as a leader though, the rule is going to be intact. So now it's just talking to your guys about, this is what we do, and win or lose, good or bad, you get blown out or it's a tight game. You got to be able to go through the line, and you got to be able to go congratulate the other team and do it the right way, and take ownership. And sometimes if you didn't win, you got to deal with that, and that's part of life. It's part of being able to suck it up and congratulate the other guy that did a better job. And if you don't like it, well, maybe you got to affect it during the 40 minutes of the game. So I don't know. I get why the NBA does it. And I think Sue, sometimes it's like, if there's no handshake line, there's nothing that says if you don't want to go and see a guy after the game, you can't do that, whether it's a player or a coach. So I don't know. I'm open to both.
Well, along those lines, you kind of may have answered my next question, but the thing that started the whole thing was Juwan Howard was obviously annoyed that Greg Gard took the timeout, but also Juwan Howard's pressing with however many seconds were left. So you strike me as I'll coach my team, you coach yours. I'm not going to worry about you. And you might do something that annoys me, but you just answered it. I'll try to get back the next 40 minutes. I'm not going to mumble. I'm not going to make a scene. Like that kind of seems, I've known you a while. That seems like your modus operandi when it comes to that situation.
Yeah. I think obviously everybody has their own way of going about it. And I think you got to go to who you are and what your personality is. I've learned quickly there's so much on a head coach's plate where it's like sometimes if you don't have time to worry about the other stuff, you don't have time, or if you do have time, it can make your plate that much bigger. And so I just try to keep that in focus, that I can really honestly only control how I am, how I interact, and how I try to lead our players and our team. And you can, as much as you might want to, I can't control what goes on that other sideline. And there's things that a coach may do or not do. And that could even be the course of the game. Like, people always talk about, well, why would that team be in a zone or be in their man? It's like, I don't know. I'm not in their practice every day. There's a reason why they're doing it. I'm not going to sit there and question that because I'm not, it's not fair. I'm not there every day. And I think the same thing goes with how coaches conduct, end of game. Some coaches will continue to press. Some coaches will back off. Some guys will take the violation. Some guys want to play it through. And it's just like, that's on them. That's their prerogative. I can't, get caught up in telling them how they need to run their program. All I can do is say, hey, when we're in this situation, fellas, here's how we're going to act and respond. And this is what we do. And kind of worry about that. And the rest is on that other coach and that other team.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously, as coaches, you have to all have an awareness. Like if you're a guy that's going to coach to the end, not you, just a general coach like Howard did, where you're going to press, then you can't be offended if the other coach chooses to play to the end as well. I guess that would be my only editorial comment on that. That's how the whole thing went haywire. Like, why are you pissed off about a timeout if you're pressing? If you're going to coach to the end, let the other guy coach. That said, you mentioned it's life lessons, right? Where I'm sure as a coach and certainly as a player over time, there's times where if you haven't felt like you want to, maybe reach out and pop a guy because you're mad, or you have to take a bitter pill while you're standing on that sideline to your team. I'm sure you didn't have a real fun time standing on that sideline in the second half at State College, but that's what you got to take. On the flip side, maybe you're blowing out a team, and sometimes you have to handle that with class and figure out how to operate that. And even that handshake can get tricky because you don't know what the other guy's thinking as you're, hanging a 30-point win on a guy. So there is a lot on a head coach's plate through everything.
Yeah, no, and I've been there as a player, assistant, and a coach, head coach, and it's true. I mean, even if you win a game by 15, 17, 20, there's not a real joy. Like, I'm not running over there trying to smile in a dude's face, especially in a league game. Like, that's not what it's about. And so I think it works both ways. I think for the most part, that's how this league has been, is that we've got coaches that do have a bond. And I don't think anybody's, for the most part, is like, you don't get joy out of, the handshake line and I get to stick it to a guy. You know, is there certain instances where, you know, I'm sure, you know, it does, there's a 2 or 1%, but I think for the majority, it's like, we all know how hard it is. We all know what each staff and families go through with wins and losses. And especially now with the money and the culture, like, you know, you're looking at guys' careers sometimes, you know, and it's not easy, you know, it's not, again, I don't think it's something that like guys just relish in and love to, you know, stick it to the other guy, especially if it's a very lopsided loss. So, you know, that's the hard part. And we've all been there. Like I said, most of these coaches have been doing it a lot longer than me. And I think over time, you're going to have that game or two. Like, it's inevitable. Like, I don't care who you are. Nobody's invincible to that tough home or road loss. And so now it's just being prepared for when it does happen. Just make sure you handle it the right way and you set the tone for your locker room the right way.
One follow-up on it, I guess it didn't remind me of it, but just when I was formulating the question to start this segment, where have you had a discussion with your staff about those kind of things? It did, as I was asking that, remind me, I was not at the game. I was with Guardsy for Gopher football, but when you were on the staff that played 5-on-3 against Alabama, the reason it was 5-on-3 is because you as an assistant, I think Ryan Livingston was involved in this, guy leaves a bench to fight or to run out on the floor during a scuffle, they're kicked out of the game. You guys held everybody back. Alabama couldn't get everybody corralled. It ended up being a crazy scene. It was 5-on-3. And so I'm not saying there's similarities there, but there are kind of, where the staff has to be aware of what's going on, trying to keep composure, trying to make sure guys aren't leaving the bench. What do you recall from that day out in Brooklyn, New York?
Oh yeah, no, I remember it very clearly. We were lucky on one count because it didn't happen on our end. I think that's the part that played a huge factor in it. I mean, it literally happened right in front of Alabama's bench. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think that's for sure why you saw all the ejections, is because just sometimes your human nature takes over, and you might act, whether that's to be an aggressor or whether that's to be, you know, somebody that's trying to alleviate and pull guys off. But if you leave the bench, either way, you know, you're probably going to get cooked. And so, you know, that's what happened there, is that it happened right there. And I think just human instinct kicked in, and there were some guys that were trying to instigate a little bit, and there were other guys I think were trying to help, but you can't leave the bench. And so we got lucky that it was so far away that we were, you know, as a city, you're able to tell guys to hold up, and guys aren't as much going to run across the floor. But you know, again, like I said, it gets testy, and these are competitive times. And you know, what we all want is, you know, you want warriors, you want guys that are able to you know, fight, you know, figuratively, but you know, you got to be able to know when to turn the switch off a little bit, and that's the hardest thing to do. But yeah, no, it was that was a unique deal. I think I looked down, and John Pelfrey was a coach down there, and I looked down, and he kind of like looked over and gave a little wave, because he was the only guy on the bench, because he like looked over and there was nothing. He just kind of looked down, and it was just it was odd. And you know, it was 3-on-5, and it was the most uncomfortable, whatever it was, 4 minutes, because you don't prepare for that.
Right.
You know, you don't prepare, you know, offensively how to attack a triangle, and when you're shooting, when you're not supposed to shoot. And you know, it was even then, and not to go way down that road again, but even then I remember Patino talking about the idea that you're kind of in between, because you don't want to rub it in. You're going to probably win the game. And so human instinct kind of took over there too, that, okay, we're just going to play out the string. And then all of a sudden Sexton gets hot, and it got to be a little scary for a minute. So it was just a bizarre deal, and hopefully, you know, nobody has to deal with that. But as the aforementioned former coach said, it's high level competitive stuff, and Guardsy will have the next question when we come back. So we have to take our break here. We will have the long extended contested 2 when we come back. We also have our question of the day. Coach, you got to get ready for this. You may have to put your thinking cap on for the one from today. You can ask the coach a question. Go to gophersports.com/askthecoach and submit your question. If yours is selected, you'll receive a $25 gift card to the University of Minnesota bookstore. Our thanks to them for sponsoring our show. Stay with us. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.
Welcome back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with head coach Ben Johnson, Grim and Guard with you as always. We want to thank the University of Minnesota Bookstore for sponsoring the show. And we have our question of the week. It comes from Catherine in St. Louis Park. And of course, this past week was Alumni Week on Saturday. And she has a question for Coach. Coach, if you had to start 5 former Gophers to best fit your culture, who would you come up with? I probably should have given you a heads up on this so you could have thought a little bit about it. But
well, it was Alumni Weekend. You just saw a handful of them.
Yeah.
You know, so there might be a few.
Oh man. Well, obviously, you know, you got to go Kevin McHale.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go McHale at the 4, Prisbilla at the 5.
Ooh.
There you go. There you go.
Rim protector. We'll go Bobby.
Yeah.
We'll go.
That's Bobby Jackson, kids. That's Bobby Jackson for the kids out there.
We'll go Bobby Jackson. We'll go Vashawn Leonard.
Yep.
I got one more. Man, one of the last one's tough. Man, you know, we got to go with a big wing. Probably got to take Q.
Right?
Oh,
yeah.
Q. I was going to go double T. I was going to go Trent Tucker for that big wing there.
I had Trent in there, but
they're kind of interchangeable.
They are. And I looked, the only reason I gave Q the advance, Q 6'8".
Yeah.
So if you get 6'8", you go McHale at the 4, Q at the 3 at 6'8", Bobby and Vo in the backcourt. I know.
Well, if you can get Trent off the bench, I mean, that was Q's role in '97 with Charles Thomas.
Yeah.
Those two come off the bench, hit a few threes. Like that could be double T's.
Q and Trent are definitely interchangeable. You can't necessarily go wrong. You
got to have
there.
And in today's game, even though Trent didn't get to take advantage of it, you got to have guys that are going to knock down 3-point baskets, right?
Yeah. Both those guys do that. So no, it's you go Q and Trent, flip a coin, you know.
There you go. Good question. Good question.
Prisbilla is a sneaky one. People forget about him because, you know, he left after in the middle of his sophomore year. After scoring, I think 33 against Indiana, I was at that game.
33, I think he had like 17 blocks or something crazy.
Yeah, game winner. Place was on fire, and then next day wasn't there anymore.
I always told Munson. So like, and I get it. You know, I think it was his first year, and you're trying to establish, and it was like months. The guy's leaving for the NBA anyways. Like, he ain't, you know, the class that he's not going to. Do you really gotta like
just make him go from now on, right?
Because I think it was like second semester. I'm pretty sure it was.
It was Big Ten play. Yeah, Indiana was his last game.
Like literally, you know, if that happened in February, I mean, the guy's got max 30 days on campus left, and I get like, you know, you're trying to. You know, and you want guys have to go to class. I'm not saying guys don't go to class, but I'm also saying like, man.
Well, and
for him for making the call.
Say what you want about however it ended. When he played, he did have kind of an edge that I think you're trying to build that kind of gritty toughness that you know you didn't want to mess with that dude, right?
Well, he was your age, right?
Yeah, 1 year older than me. Elite rim protector. Elite, like. His size alone, I mean, he was a monster. But he did, I mean, he's got some stuff to him. And confident, you know, like he just, man, he was good. I would have loved to play with that cat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is a sneaky pick. That's a good one. Good question. I may steal that question and come up with something on our podcast to just in my time. So I'm in year 16, just the all Gopher team in the last 16 years. I actually jotted some down, and that's even hard because there's, you know, depending on how you want to play and you want to line up with threes. But anyway, it's all good. Guardsy, we have a go ahead.
Hold on, because I got to talk. The kids don't know about Vashawn Leonard either now, and you know. The 90s, you know, we know for obvious reasons, the 90s kind of gets forgotten in this whole thing of Gopher history. I'm glad we're talking about it now. It seems like the last few years, because it is, I mean, it's 25 years ago now. This is the 25th year anniversary of the 97 team, but the kids don't know about Vashawn Leonard, man. I mean, he was with those Fab Five guys, went to high school with Jalen Rose. I mean, just an unbelievable shooter, unbelievable career. And if you're like our age, you know, that's the guy, you know, with Ariel McDonald and Townsend Orr and that group, like those were the guys that got, you know, early 90s, the barn rolling. I mean, but Sean Leonard's a good pick, man. That's
You know what?
that's a good pick.
Well, here's the thing. He's the all-time leading scorer. I mean, all his points got wiped out, but if you kept that in, no one scored more points in the history.
The hardest one is do you go Willie, Q, or Trent? That by far to me.
Yeah, Willie, you're right. Oof.
You go Willie, Q, or Trent.
Willie's another good one. We might have
how do you not go Willie? You know,
you got to go Willie, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think Mikhail's pretty much he's obviously a lock. You know, you could go Brewer, Prisbilla.
Yeah. Oof.
But like, how do you got Willie, Q, and Trent, and that's a tough.
And if you go old school and listen to the Hall of Famer Ray Christensen, I remember talking to him. Lou Hudson was the greatest Gopher of all time in his mind. So
Hudson, Brewer. No, I the only reason I don't say those, I just have never,
never
not
seen.
that I don't
You didn't
think
get
they're
to
good.
see it.
Yeah, you haven't seen them, but Brewer, Hudson,
Yeah, great.
Willie's hard to not. I mean, you gotta find a way to put Willie in there.
Willie was a stud. There was no doubt about that. All right. Hey, Guardsy, we're going to, Catherine took your job today. She'll get a gift card. We'll have to put we're a little overdue for a break. So we'll have to put the long contested 2 on pause for this week. We'll get back to it next week. Maybe we can double it up and ask 4 questions next week.
Well, as long as we win, I don't care who's scoring. We're winning. So Catherine gets it this week. I'm happy to take a back seat. We'll be fine as long as we win.
All right, we'll wrap it up. We'll get a look at the Scouting Report coming up. Tomorrow it's Minnesota and Wisconsin, 8 o'clock the tip. We take air at 7:30. Sunbelt Business Advisors sponsors our show. Our last segment is coming up. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Welcome back. It's our final segment, Gopher Basketball Weekly with head coach Ben Johnson, Grim and Guard to wrap it up. And tomorrow's a big one, the border battle, Minnesota and Wisconsin, 8 o'clock tip, gophersports.com for tickets. We'll take air at 7:30. And Coach, you gave them all they wanted. That was tied 60-60 with 3 minutes left in Madison. What do you take from that? And what has changed, if anything, in regard to what, you can throw their way and get a win here at home tomorrow?
Yeah, no, I thought we competed at a high level and put ourselves in position to have a chance to win. Had a couple of rebounds and loose balls that we didn't get that we need to get. But I think overall, we had a pretty good game plan and guys did a good job of competing. And again, anytime you give yourself a chance to win on the road, especially there against, I think at that time they were top 15, top 10, it's a good thing. So, we should take a lot of confidence from that, a lot of confidence from last game and how we played. You could kind of throw records to the wind. I think when these two schools play, because somebody's going to step up. It's going to be somebody maybe expected, somebody unexpected, but somebody's going to step up and have a really good game. So, it should be exciting time. I know we're looking forward to it. Good way to start, the last final homestand here for us. And want to get it going on the right note.
And how much does this one mean personally, like to you as a guy who's lived it? I remember Richard's first year, he was talking about, it's a big game. And he quoted you on the coach. So Ben's like, no. This is a big game, like a big game. He said, okay, I had rivalries at different schools, Louisville, Kentucky's like, but he's right. This is a big one. So, as a guy who's lived it, how much is this one? What kind of extra does it carry? And do you have to kind of, keep it all in perspective too?
Yeah, no, you definitely keep it in perspective. And it's nothing, I think it's just the rivalry that the states have more than anything, whether it's Packer, Viking, it's, Gophers, Badgers. I think too, it's just that the fan bases it's bragging rights more than anything. You want to be able to have bragging rights as a fan base, as a team.
Well, it'd be fun if tomorrow can get the ball rolling in that regard. It should be an electric atmosphere at the barn. Crowd can certainly have a factor. We will see you tomorrow at the barn, Coach.
Sounds good.
All right, he's the head coach for Ben Johnson and Justin Guard. I'm Mike Grimm. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.